What's up, guys? Welcome back to Cool Fred's Garage. This Cool Fred here. So I'm going into the second video, basically talking about well, I'm gonna go in and replace two lifters. I suspect that I got a collapsed lifter. So we're working on the 73 Chevy, my 1973 Chevrolet Impala. It's got the 400 small block in here. With, of course, it's a 406 now. So it's you know, it's kind of like going on with it. Well, not, you know, the only thing I suspect going with it that's problematic is you know, just the lifters, but it actually runs pretty good otherwise. But I just got a lot of you know, upgrades and things that I've done to it. That's just a lot, you know, to talk about and put in pretty much one video. So you know, I'll just touch on some things briefly with it. So this is 1973. It's the original block with upgraded parts. So the crank, the rods, and pretty much everything in it is been new, is new or rebuilt, or, you know, upgraded or whatever. So I mean, it's got all ARP bolts. It got the AFR 195 cylinder heads on there. So I purchased those. I bought those in 2006. So these are, I'm not gonna say they're their earlier style heads, but it's kind of like the heads they had out, you know, kind of in the early to mid 2000s. So at that time, I wanted to get some 64cc chamber, the combustion chamber, but all they had was 68cc. But this head has been featured in a lot of like popular builds that you would see in magazines and stuff like that. So I'll touch briefly on that in a little bit. But I mean, pretty much the main goal in this series, I'm gonna show you guys what parts I'm gonna put in there. I'm gonna try to improve a couple things as far as, like, you know, with the valve adjustment. Not the valve adjustment, but the guide plates. I know I spoke briefly on that. So that's one flaw that I think these cylinder heads had. Not as far as the heads, but as far as the guide plates and trying to get the rocker arm geometry 100% right. So hopefully I have a solution to fix that. So maybe I guess this, I'm not sure how, what I got to fix it is some adjustable guide plates that I'm gonna show you guys in a little bit. So I'm not sure how, you know, how long, and I got those actually from AFR. So purchased those from Sonic, but I'm not sure, like, if anybody else has had that issue over the years. But they're a wonderful set. The cylinder heads, definitely noticed the big power increased, you know, after I put them on. So I've had this engine out of this car, I want to say 3 times. The first time was in 2004, a little bit after I graduated high school. Pretty much that summer I started pulling it out and taking it apart. So pretty much, and that was back in 2004. So that's, like, I want to say a good 18 years ago. So I had it out then, and I did a mild build on it back then. Basically, put new pistons, bearings, and all that stuff in there. But I had the original cylinder heads on there, which were kind of not the best, but they're okay. But I had some issues with those factory heads because they had the pressed in studs and stuff. And then, you know, with the mouth cam that was in there, had problems like pulling out the rocker arm studs a little bit and stuff like that. And also was using a little bit of I guess oil on the valve seats of those stock heads back then. So put the engine back out in about, I want to say, like 2006, and kind of changed some things up. And I also, you know, kind of learned some things by reading some bullets and some content and doing a little bit more research, you know what I'm saying, on the 400 small block and stuff like that. So it's kind of a lot of it's a lot of popular builds on the 400 small block. So these engines are popular because they're known for making pretty good torque. They're known for making the type of torque that a big block can make. So a good performance built small block, and you know, even with vortex cylinder heads on them that you can get out of the GM Performance catalog, can make about like 500 to 520 foot-pounds of torque at like 2,500 RPM. A stock 400 small block. Now this was during 1973, during the small years or the emissions years, when because this car came factory with a 2-barrel carburetor, and of course I've got fuel injection on here now. Like I said, it's just a lot to talk about. I'm just trying to just kind of condense everything down, make it, you know, just kind of just give y'all a backstory on it. But so I had the 2-barrel carburetor and stock manifolds, all that stuff. As I've done stuff to it, because me and my dad, we got it running in 2000. So he gave me the car. We started tinkering with it. It was actually a car that his dad bought for his mother, which was my grandmother and my grandfather. So this car has been in the family for a while. But just, you know, the 2-barrel carburetor, they made about 150 horsepower with the 2-barrel carburetor, but they made 300. It's either 300 or 320 foot-pounds of torque at like 2,000 RPM. So these things were torque monsters. Now this car didn't have any catalytic converters on them. That was 1975 when they came out with the catalytic converters. But you know, just taking off from a stoplight, I mean, this thing, that's before I put the limited slip differential and all that stuff back there. But I mean, this thing would pretty much, if you stab it, it would just like smoke the tires or whatever. But I eventually, you know, but I noticed once I got it tuned up, and it did need a timing chain in the early years. So put the timing cover, because the timing chain got loose and ate through the factory cover. So that, and just sealing up like the oil pan and getting it running top tip condition, all that stuff kind of made a difference back then, even for a factory stock engine, which looked nothing like what this is now. I mean, this is, you know, kind of all dolled up, painted up. It's got a later model belt drive unit on it. I got Phytate fuel injection and ceramic coated headers, electric fans, all that stuff. Let me see. But, and then funny thing is, once I got the engine running, driving good, I remember I was probably like maybe 17 years old. Car looked nothing like this. It was a maroon car. Interior's all messed up. But my brother was in middle school, but he had to go to summer school. So I'm driving this thing, and after I did all the timing chain and the oil pan, it still had the 2-barrel carburetor on there back then. But pretty much after I did all that thing, I told him I was running top tip shape for a stock 400 small block. And I'm taking him to, I want to say I was maybe in 10th grade, and he was like maybe in 7th, I think he was in 7th grade, going to 8th grade, but he needed to go to summer school. So I was taking him to the school, and the transmission started slipping, because that was the original 350 transmission that was in there. And so I barely made it home because the transmission went out, and I had to back this thing up in the driveway. But basically, over the years, you know, I learned a lot about, you know, working on cars, you know, working with my dad. And I was just going to kind of briefly, I forgot, I was going to kind of go a little bit in about like the second time I pulled the engine out. And then I guess I'll finish this last thought I just had. But yeah, so in '06, when I ordered these heads, I did like another mild rebuild, but and that at that point, I think the first time I had to have the crank turned, but the second time I went in it, I decided to get another crank. So I bought an Eagle crank, and they told me I had to use the 5.7 rods with it. So I used the 5.7 rods and the shorter pistons, because you guys know that the original 400s had shorter rods and they had slightly longer pistons, especially the piston skirts were about this long. So the piston skirts that are in here now, but this piston is overall shorter with the longer rod, which helps it rev a lot better. So I did that, but I went through a few, I guess growing pains or learning about different stuff, because I don't know if you guys are familiar with a Crane Z cam, but I put a Crane Z cam. That was a pretty nice cam they had back in I want to say around like 05, 06. But it didn't break in good, and I ended up messing up a cam load. But I was able to get that warrantied out, and I tried draining, the oil and getting most everything out. But even the second one I put in here back, I want to say the last time I put this engine out was 2018, and that's kind of when I did a few more things to it, like put the one belt drive on and all that stuff. But as I went in it, I found that cam had a couple bad lows on it. So I switched. I don't even think Crane is in business anymore. They might sell a few of their parts, but I think they're made by somebody else. So I got a Lunati cam in here now. It seems to be holding up pretty good. But in 2018, yeah, I tore the engine apart, and I was getting ready to put it back together, and I was putting the cam in, and it wasn't fitting good. So I started looking into it and found out that I had ate up cam bearings. So you guys check your cam bearings, and it's always a good practice anytime you go in the engine, no matter if if you just built it a few years prior, would always check your cam bearings. But of course, this was 2018, so it was like maybe like another. If the last time I've been in it was, I want to say 06 up into 18, so that's probably like a good, I guess almost I want to say 14 years. Yeah, about 14 years. So I mean, I guess it held up pretty good for that time. But that's the last time I've been in it. Just did a little bit of refreshing. So everything seems to be running good. The performance is good. No misfire issues. The fuel injection got all of the bugs worked out of it. So I mean, if you guys see anything or have any questions, you just let me know. I'll start diving into it in a little bit. But before I do that, I am going to show you guys the parts, and I am going to, I guess, talk briefly about, just, kind of how I, just started. Of course, I've always been a car guy, but I guess it comes to a point where, you're proud to say that you built. All right, so I was just gonna mention, real quick. So a lot of this stuff in the beginning, I did have, friends, relatives, and family that worked on cars and stuff like that. But as far as getting into more like high performance and performance oriented stuff, so that's like improving and making things a little bit better, a little bit faster, a little bit efficient. I mean, it's not the fastest stuff that's out there, because it's not like I'm running like an LS with turbos and all this crazy stuff that's out here now. But kind of like in the early 2000s, I want to say, like, it wasn't a whole lot of love for because for these body cars, like everybody was mostly like into the box Chevys and the bubble Caprices and stuff like that. So I think a lot of the Florida guys were into these, and a lot of the the lowrider guys, but pretty much all of these that I would see around the neighborhood that was fixed up, man, I always thought these were, you know, some real, that these 1970s GM cars were, you know, nice, like the Caprices and the Impalas, man. You know, I really had a lot of love for these cars, and you know the way they look and the body lines that are on them. So they were some pretty cool cars, but basically, you know, a lot of, I mean, this is before like YouTube. I mean, you had TV shows like, you know, Horsepower TV and all that used to come on back in the day. And but one of my favorite magazines I used to read back in the day would be the Chevy High Performance. So I started off looking at like the lowrider magazines, and of course, you know, if you guys can relate to me, you know, you start off with the lowrider magazine because you're looking in there, you're looking at the paint jobs and the interiors, and you know, besides all the chrome out engines and stuff like that. Now this is a later Chevy High Performance. I don't get these anymore, but I've always loved their magazines. Like this right here was a December of '09, but I've always learned a lot. You usually learn a little bit at a time, but they've always been known to have some nice info in here. And like this particular, I don't know if I was subscribed at this time, but this one is talking about like the LS series of engines, and so all of my favorite Chevy High Performance magazines. I got some upstairs in my attic in like a little a crate. Like, you know, some of them I had to like give away and throw away because I just had so many of them. But the ones that really had some real good information in there, you know, I kind of held on to them because you really can learn a lot. Like I have. I mean, I've been reading these since I was probably like a sixth grader. So I started out with the Lowrider magazine. And then I want to say I started reading Chevy High Performance because they used to run all these specials where, you know, you could fill out it had something like this in there. When you go in there, you can fill it out and you can get a really good price. I want to say, I don't know if it was like $10 a year back then or $8 a year, but you can get a real good, I'm not sure if this magazine is still around or not in 2023. I got to check and see. But, so if you had a lowrider magazine, you know, because all of the stuff seemed pretty cool. So if you had a lowrider magazine, if you was into cars, you definitely had a Jegs magazine. You got a Summit magazine, and you got the Crutchfield, which had all the sound systems and like stereo receivers and all that stuff in there. So you had that, but. This is one of the early books I bought, and this was like in my high school years before I even took this apart. But it's got a lot, you know, just a lot of tips on just how to build a small block Chevy engine. Even though I learned a lot from some of my cousins and my dad's friends and stuff. So this is another Chevy High Performance. But one of the books and literature that really helped me out, especially on understanding big inch or stroker motors, is this book right here. And if you guys haven't, I want to say I used to work at Sears, and during lunch break, I used to go to Barnes and Noble. And, you know, while I'm sitting in there, I came across this book and I was like, wow, man. And I ended up buying this book because that was kind of in the middle of me, like about this. Now, I want to say it was like '05, like about to take that motor back out for the second time and figuring out some things I can do to improve it. And this really talks about like, you know, the difference between the stock rods and the 5.7 and the 6-inch rods. And one of the main reasons I grabbed this book because I'm about to do little stuff to the heads, and this right here has got my original AFR paperwork. So when I got ready to order the gaskets You notice I got some things highlighted. So they talk about, you know, like the spark plugs, torque specs, and like the intake gasket. So I just got these right here from Rock Auto. So these are the I think these are for the larger port, for larger port cylinder heads, which these AFRs, they're 195 cc runners. So these are the 1205, and I ordered some more spark plugs, which this doesn't say anything about these particular spark plugs, but these are some that I came across. Been running these for years. These are the FR5 V-Power NGK spark plugs. They work real great with these cylinder heads. Because in here they recommend an AC Delco plug that is no longer available. I think it's I'm not sure if it's a rapid fire. I think it's like a FR3 something. So I just kind of refer back and forth to this, and so got that, and then back to the transmission. Even though I mean I got an overdrive in here now, I got a new TCI transmission that I put in 2021. And man, just looking at the prices of what that transmission costs now, it's ridiculous. It's way more expensive now than if you bought it 2-3 years ago. I'm just gonna leave that at that with all these supply chain issues and things like that. So real quick, yeah, basically I was just saying, you know, a lot of things, you know, I kind of learned or taught myself. I looked at, you know, back then it was like VHS tapes, you know, of people rebuilding engines, transmissions, and things like that. So this is one of the books for pretty much all the General Motors transmissions that I bought. So it's a lot of, you know, helpful information in there. But that's another story for another day. But you know, me and my dad did rebuild that original 350 transmission and got this thing back on the road back then. So I drove it my senior year of high school. I drove it, drove this car on and off back to work while I was working on my daily driver for about 2 or 3 months. So I mean, it's just a lot of stories I can go on about, but I'm gonna go ahead and get into. I got most of the coolant drained down there. So that was that little trickling, like you heard some water falling out. That was that coolant draining out. So I'm gonna get ready. Well, first of all, I'm gonna go change my clothes, put on some work clothes, and I'm gonna start tearing this thing apart a little bit, and then I'll wrap up the rest of it tomorrow. So pretty much I'm gonna be snatching the intake off. So get both the valve covers off, the throttle body injection, get that off, get the distributor out, stuff like that. And that's pretty much it. Alright, so I'm actually to the point where I'm about to go ahead and pull this distributor out. So I got my wrench here. Just gotta get down here. Alright, so pretty much I'm down to the intake bolts right now. About to get these intake bolts out of here. So on this one there's 12 of them. It's an early Gen 1 small block. So, but you can run the Vortex cylinder heads on these. This one has AFR heads on it, but if you got the Vortex heads, then those have, I think they got a 6-bolt intake. I think it's 8 or 6. I think it's 8. I think it's 4 bolts on each side. So it doesn't have, this one got 6 on each side. Got 2 in the front, 2 in the middle, and then 2 on the end on both sides. So that's 12. And I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret. So I run these little lock washers. This is something I added to the ARP bolts. Add a little lock washer. I put a little bit of the Ultra Blue Permatex around there too, just to kind of help seal it up a little bit. You know, mostly just from the oil that be in the valley, even though it's not gonna get up that high, but just for extra insurance. But I put the little lock washers on there to keep the bolts from backing out. It's not usually so bad in the center, but on the edges around your water ports, because like in the past, what I've had like over here in the back is that like it was one point in time I thought maybe I had a head gasket or something that was leaking, and actually what it was coming from the intake, trickling down the back side of the motor, and kind of just running down the back side of the motor. But it would kind of run around to the point where it'll come down like kind of on this side up under there, and it would make it seem like the head gasket was leaking, but it actually just the intake bolts had just gotten a little loose and they just needed to be tight. So this is the Performer RPM air gap Edelbrock intake. So I haven't had any problems with, you know, any leaks or anything on this one. But when I was running the Performer RPM, I ran into that. But when I switched over to this intake, that's what made me want to add the lock washers. So there we go. So I just got a few more bolts. I might get the electric ratchet out for those other ones. And but so far, I mean, I really haven't been out here a long time. I say I've been out here maybe about like less than an hour, and I just kind of took a little break not long ago. Went in the house and got some dessert. So And I mean, that's removing pretty much everything. The fuel injection system, all the wiring quick disconnected. Like I got the fuel injection throttle body over here on the table there. This lady over there. But I mean, I guess number one, I'm kind of familiar with my setup and my engine and everything, so it don't really take me that long to pull it apart. Alright, so now I'm about to get ready to pull this intake off of here, so try to get a little good area to pry it. Got it loose, but this was on maybe a little tougher than typically, because there are no like rubber or cork gaskets on the China rail. They want you to RTV it on the Performer air gap, so it's a little bit more effort to get it off. There we go. I got that bad boy out of there, so it's in my hand. Alright, so the intake's out. These are all my screws and all my hardware for the engine. I just put them in that collapsible magnetic tray. But I'm probably gonna call it a night in a little bit, but I am anxious to see what that lifter looks like right here. So this is the one that's giving us the issue. The cylinder one exhaust right now, which right now is closed. So I'm actually gonna spin the motor over just a little bit. Because I actually like most of the time I adjust my valves when they're on the compression stroke. That way, like when both valves are closed. So pretty much like this cylinder, and then that one right there. That allow me to adjust both of those rocker arms. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull that rocker arm and see what we got. But so yeah, these are the AFR 195 cylinder heads, and you can see some of that port work that comes out of their factory, like this like nice and smooth CNC finish that they put in there. Especially right there, you see it real good right there. So that's on their intake ports and their combustion chambers. So that's why those heads flow so good. Well, one of the many reasons, but there's some pretty good all-around heads. So we're gonna talk about what I was saying earlier about those guide plates. I'm gonna show you guys, you know, why there's a flaw in those a little later on. All right, so I got my T-handle Yeah, my wrench out here. So I got these poly locks broke loose on these. So I'm gonna take these rockers off. And I'm gonna take these two lifters out and just kind of compare them to each other. So I got my fender cover right here and I got my little piece of shop towel. So that's gonna protect the paint of the car. That's the poly lock for that. For the intake and the exhaust, I'm taking that one off now. Already dropping stuff. So lucky it just went right there. About to pull that lifter out, hopefully with this magnet. So it's sliding up and down nice and good, so that's a good sign. Just gonna see if I can get it out. It's giving me a hard time. Alright, so if I can just slide it out, so that's it. And actually it looks pretty good on the bottom. No signs of a worn out cam or anything like that. So the retainer is in there. So yeah, retainer is in there. So this is the exhaust lifter. So I'm just going to inspect it further. Maybe I'll take it apart, but I'm pretty much going to kind of put those on the table so we can kind of keep up with them. But I'm going to compare it to the intake one. Alright, so this lifter right here is the cylinder 1 intake lifter, and so far I noticed something a little bit different with it. I'm not sure if that's a telltale sign of anything or not, but it's in perfect condition just like the exhaust one. So there's no wear, it's not chewed up on the bottom. It's got a nice finish on the bottom of it. But I do notice that like there's still oil at the top of it. It's probably a little tricky to see because of my light. Maybe the light is reflecting, but that's oil right there. So on this one right here, this the one that I believe is collapsed, but the one I'm having an issue with. So basically, it wasn't any oil or anything. It was just pretty much nothing there. I mean, I know it's oiling because it's oil shooting out, but I guess, you know, to the point, maybe the oil is bleeding back down. So I guess once I get it back together, I may actually take this one apart. But that's the one that I'm going to be replacing. I'm actually going to stick this one back in the motor. But I just wanted to point that out. So I was just kind of comparing them just to see if I seen any difference of anything. So I'm going to put it back in there. So that one goes right here. So I mean, so far that's good news. You know, no signs of a bad cam or anything like that. So I guess real quick before I wrap this up, I may show you guys of what I think about those guide plates. So I may take, let's say for instance, because I'm pretty much gonna repair those one at a time anyway. But I may take these right here apart on cylinder. Let me see. This is 135 on cylinder 5 to show you guys just pretty much how the adjusting the guide plates is a little bit difficult, and hopefully I got a solution that's gonna fix that. All right, so I'm gonna show you guys real quick one flaw about these guide plates on these AFR heads. So I've already cracked these studs. It's a 11/16. Gonna have a deep socket, but pretty much you see how I'm sliding this plate right here, and for one, it's not much of a area where you can move them. You can move them from side to side a little bit. So generally what I would do, so I'll set this one down on there, and then I'm gonna set this other one. So that's on there. So basically, you see how I can move one rocker arm and it'll move the other one on the guide plate. So typically, what you would do, you would kind of, you can see, let me see, this one right here, this will be the cylinder 5 exhaust. So cylinder 5 intake is pretty much center of that valve tip, but when that one's center, this other one is slightly off. So basically what you have to do is kind of move these around like this, which shifts that plate. You can see that plate shifting, but there's only kind of so much where you can get them both within a particular point. And what I was attempting to do on cylinder 3 was I was attempting to modify the plate. Actually did that cylinder 1 too. I took the plate off. That was actually a few weeks ago, back when I was just kind of trying to see what I can do to, you know, readjust this valve, see if I can get it quieter. I did get it a little bit quieter, but it was still chattering. But so I basically removed these screws and I opened up the hole that was in the guide plate so I can get a little bit more movement out of it, but that didn't seem to help. So I'm gonna show you guys what parts I got to correct that. So I hope they work out for this application, but unfortunately you guys are gonna have to wait till the next video. I know I said earlier in this video that I was going to show you guys what replacement parts I got and everything, but I'm about to call it a night tonight. So in the next video I'll be showing you guys those parts, and I'll be putting those lifters in, making adjustments, and show you guys what I'm going back together with, and then I'll get it back together. And hopefully that's gonna fix the issue, and then maybe later on in another video I'll actually get it running and go out for a test drive. But I actually got a test drive video that I did early in the year, just showing you guys how good the car drives, how good it runs with the engine and transmission combo and things like that. So some of you guys have probably already seen that one. But thank you guys for checking out Cool Fred's Garage. If y'all like these type of how-to videos and things like that, give me a like and subscribe to the channel. I got a couple other cool projects out there. So one of the latest ones that's kind of coming up real soon that I've actually been working on, just been doing a little bit of work to it the other day, which is the 1972 Ford Gran Torino Sport. So I know you guys can't wait to hear that thing fire up. So if you definitely don't want to miss that. So I would definitely subscribe, just, you know what I'm saying, to hear that Ford fire up. So I'm gonna tell you what the guy who owns the car said. He's bragging about that the cam that he has in there. So he says he has a mean roller cam in there with I think almost 600,000 lift on it, and that thing's supposed to shake the neighborhood. So we're gonna see what it's gonna do. But thank you guys for checking out Cool Fred's Garage. Please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, And stay tuned for the next video.